The people-pleasing myth. When self-help turns kindness into a flaw people-pleasing or just being a decent human. Who decides? In the ever-expanding world of self-help, personal development and coaching, new labels are constantly being introduced to explain human behaviour. One of the most popular and often weaponised terms in recent years is people-pleasing. It's been framed as a toxic trait, a form of self-abandonment, and even a psychological trap that holds people back from their true selves. But who actually gets to decide whether someone is a people-pleaser or simply a thoughtful, considerate person navigating relationships in a normal, reciprocal way? The coaching industry's take on people-pleasing. The modern coaching and self-help industry has aggressively redefined people-pleasing, not as a natural part of human relationships, but as a personal flaw that must be fixed. Coaching companies push this idea with messaging like, people-pleasing isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. The more you background yourself, the more others will too. What if you could finally put yourself first, without fear of disappointing others? At first glance, this messaging sounds empowering, but dig deeper, and you'll see what's really happening. These companies are turning normal, healthy compromises into something problematic. Their underlying message, if you care too much about others, you're doing it wrong. And conveniently, they offer the solution in the form of courses, coaching programs, and self-development frameworks that promise to fix this so-called problem. From caring to self-abandonment, the false dichotomy, the coaching narrative forces a false choice. Either you're a strong, independent individual who puts themselves first, or you're a self-sacrificing, insecure people-pleaser who lets others walk all over you. But real life doesn't work that way. Healthy relationships involve give and take. Sometimes, one partner makes adjustments for the other, whether it's choosing a restaurant based on their dietary needs, putting a family's financial stability ahead of personal career ambitions, or simply being considerate. Does that mean they've abandoned themselves? No. It means they are in a relationship where both people adjust and accommodate for each other over time. That's called being an adult, not a people pleaser. The dangerous reframing of the past. When someone starts buying into this ideology, it doesn't just change their future, it rewrites their past. Many people, after being introduced to coaching jargon, suddenly realize that they have been stuck in a pattern of self-abandonment for years. They begin reframing past compromises as toxic patterns, casting themselves as a victim and justifying drastic actions like cutting ties, leaving relationships, and completely overhauling their identity. This is exactly how coaching ideology destroyed a 25-year marriage, a woman who had spent years in a loving, committed relationship, where she and her partner made mutual decisions, balanced career and family, and supported each other, suddenly reinterpreted her role as one of constant sacrifice. In her words, "I have been looking after him for 20 years. This wasn't something she ever brought up before, but after exposure to a coaching company's narrative, she suddenly saw herself as someone who had been oppressed rather than a willing, equal participant in the relationship." What changed? Not her circumstances, only her perception of them. And that perception was shaped by an industry designed to make people feel like they've been doing life wrong, so they will buy into the next big fix. Selling the breakthrough at any cost. The self-help and coaching industries thrive on creating dissatisfaction. They convince people that their past selves were naive, that their relationships were unbalanced, and that they need to reclaim their power by radically shifting their priorities. And because these shifts happen fast, they can feel exhilarating. What once felt like compromise now feels like oppression. What once felt like love now feels like self-sacrifice. What once felt like a partnership now feels like a prison. When someone is already predisposed to self-help thinking, constantly looking for ways to grow, improve, and become their best self, coaching ideologies like integral leadership become incredibly dangerous. They don't just encourage personal development, they encourage rapid identity shifts that often lead to destruction, rather than true growth. Who gets to decide what people-pleasing really is? At the end of the day, who actually decides if someone is a people-pleaser? Is it a coach with a sales pitch? A self-help book designed to make you feel inadequate? Or is it something far more personal? An individual's own assessment of how they navigate relationships. The reality is that labels like people pleaser are subjective. What one person calls people pleasing, another calls being a good partner, friend, or parent. If you occasionally prioritize someone else's needs over your own, does that mean you are abandoning yourself? Or does it mean you value relationships and practice mutual care? If you struggle to say no sometimes, is that a deep-rooted dysfunction? Or is it a normal human experience that varies depending on context? If you consider your partner when making life decisions, does that make you weak? Or does it make you someone who values love and commitment? Beware of the coaching reframe. The coaching industry thrives on turning normal behaviours into problems that require their solutions. And once they convince you that your kindness is actually a flaw, it's a short step to rewriting your past, making impulsive life changes, and embracing a selfish, individualistic mindset, all while believing you are evolving. If you've ever been told you're a people pleaser, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this really a toxic pattern, or is it just a normal part of human relationships? Before you let someone else redefine your history, your identity, and your relationships, consider whether they truly have your best interests at heart, or if they just have something to sell.